A little girl brought 2 frozen dogs inside the house. The next morning, the police surrounded her residence. Nobody imagined what had happened on that freezing winter night. Little Emily just wanted to save 2 puppies that were dying from the cold. She took them in, warmed them up, and gave them hope. But when dawn broke, 3 patrol cars surrounded her house. Flashing lights, police officers' voices demanding they open the door. What had she done wrong? Why were they there? This story began with a simple gesture of kindness, but ended in a way nobody expected. It all started on the night when a violent storm hit the city. The wind howled so loudly it seemed like it would tear off the roof. Snow covered the streets, the windows, and the entire porch. Emily, 8 years old, was at home, listening to the storm roar outside. Her parents had already gone to sleep. Her little brother snored softly in the crib. Everything was silent until she heard something. A faint moan, almost impossible to hear, 2 crying voices getting lost in the wind. Emily froze, her heart beating hard. She got up and walked to the front door. She opened just a crack and saw something that would change her life forever. 2 tiny German shepherd puppies were sitting on the porch steps, huddled next to each other. Their fur was covered in ice. Their little paws trembled non-stop. Their little eyes begged for help. They were so frozen they could barely move. "Mom! Dad!" Emily shouted, but the storm swallowed her voice. She didn't wait or think twice. She ran outside in just socks, picked up both puppies in her arms, and brought them inside. The door slammed behind her. A freezing wind invaded the house, but Emily was already safe inside, with 2 puppies almost dying in her arms. The little dogs were frozen, their little bodies barely breathing. Emily quickly wrapped them in a warm blanket, sat on the floor, and began blowing warm air on them, the same way her mother did with her little brother. "Don't be afraid," she whispered, with her voice trembling. "I'm going to save you. I promise." Emily didn't sleep a wink all night. She sat beside the puppies, watching every breath. The lights flickered. The storm threatened to cut the power. In the distance, thunder echoed, but Emily didn't move an inch. She gave them warm milk, drop by drop, with a spoon. She dried their wet fur with a hairdryer, keeping it far away so as not to burn them. And she kept whispering stories her grandma used to tell. She simply couldn't abandon them. Around 4 in the morning, one of the puppies opened his little eyes and rubbed his snout against the palm of her hand. The second climbed into her lap and slept, snoring softly. They weren't trembling anymore. They felt safe. They trusted her. Emily smiled, even though she was dying from exhaustion. "You're going to survive," she whispered. "I know it." But she had no idea what the next morning would bring. When the first rays of sun came through the curtains, the city fell silent, the streets covered in snow, everything quiet, calm, peaceful. And then blue and red lights began flashing outside the window. Emily lifted her head, rubbed her tired eyes, looked out the window, and her heart raced. 3 patrol cars were parked right in front of her house. The police officers got out of the cars, talking on the radio. One of them stared at the house. "Everyone stay inside. Don't open the door." A loud voice rang out. Emily, in total panic, grabbed the puppies and hid them behind a fortress of pillows and blankets. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "Please, don't make any noise." Her mother ran to the living room, half asleep and scared. "What's happening? Why are there police here?" Her father was already running to the door. Someone knocked hard. "Open the door! It's the police! Urgent!" Her father unlocked it, and 3 police officers came in. They still had snow on their shoulders. One held a photograph, another examined the house carefully, as if looking for clues. Emily shrank into a corner, hugging the puppies against her chest. "They're going to take them away." "I know they will." The older police officer approached. His face was serious, severe, but then he took a deep breath and smiled slightly, as if a giant weight had come off his shoulders. "Emily," he said softly, "you didn't do anything wrong. quite the opposite. You acted with incredible courage." He turned the photograph around. It showed 2 German shepherd puppies, the same ones. "These puppies disappeared last night," he began to explain. "They were being transported from the rescue center to a specialized training center. The van driver swerved to avoid hitting a deer on the road. The vehicle flipped over and he was trapped inside for several hours. When rescuers got him out, the puppies had disappeared. We searched for them all night during that terrible storm." Emily's mother brought her hand to her mouth. Her father hugged her by the shoulders. The police officer crouched in front of Emily. "You saved their lives. If you hadn't let them in, they wouldn't have survived the night." Emily looked at the puppies in her arms. They stared at her with small, trusting eyes. "I just couldn't leave them out there in the cold," she whispered. "That's why you're a hero," the police officer replied, but his face became serious. "There's one more thing you need to know," he continued slowly. "These puppies aren't ordinary dogs. They were being trained for a very important mission." Emily frowned. "What mission?" "They'll be therapy dogs in the future," he explained. "They're being trained to help children who have gone through terrible situations, children who have lost their parents, children who have suffered abuse, children who are afraid to sleep at night. These puppies are taught to be present when no one else is, to be hope when everything seems lost." Emily looked at the little creatures in her arms, the soft little faces, the warm breathing, the trusting eyes. They seemed so helpless, but they were destined for something great. Her mother put her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Sweetheart, you didn't just save 2 little dogs, you saved the hope of many other children." Her father even wiped away tears. The police officers stood in silence, moved by the moment. "We need to take them to the vet," said the older police officer, "to check for frostbite, make sure they're okay." Emily hugged the little dogs tighter. "And then, what happens after?" The police officer smiled. "After they continue their training and become who they're meant to be." But he leaned closer. "They'll want to see you. Therapy dogs never forget who saved their lives." "Promise?" Emily whispered. Her voice trembled. "I promise." Emily got up slowly, walked to the police officers, and looked into the puppy's eyes one last time. "Be strong," she said softly. "The other children need you. You're special." She kissed each one's forehead and handed them to the police officer. As they carried the puppies to the car, one of them whimpered loudly. Emily ran after them. "I'll see you again, won't I?" The police officer turned and nodded. "This isn't goodbye, Emily. It's just the beginning." The cars drove away. The blue lights went out. The street was silent again. Emily stood on the porch watching them go. The snow still covered everything. The cold burned on her cheeks, but something warm burned inside her, something important. She had saved lives. 2 lives. And that mattered. The weeks passed slowly. Every day, Emily woke up and ran to the mailbox. Nothing. Every night she prayed before sleeping, "Please, let them be okay." She kept the blanket she had wrapped the puppies in, never washed it. It had their smell. That smell reminded her that she had done something real. Friends at school asked, "Is it true the police came to your house?" Emily nodded. "I saved 2 puppies." "Wow, you're a hero." But Emily didn't feel like a hero. She just felt empty. She missed them, the warm snouts, the soft snuffles, how they looked at her as if she were their whole world. 3 weeks later, on an ordinary Saturday, a van stopped in front of the house. Emily was playing in the backyard, building a snow fort, when suddenly she heard the sound of an engine. She looked up and saw the same police officer. He got out of the car, smiling, and with him were the 2 little dogs, healthy, grown, with shiny fur. Wagging their tails so fast it looked like they would fly, the police officer released the leashes. The puppies ran toward her. Emily fell to her knees. They jumped on her, covering her with kisses, squeals, and joy, licking her face, stepping on her jacket with their little paws and whimpering with happiness. Emily laughed and cried at the same time. "You remember me? You remember?" The police officer approached. "Of course they remember. You saved them." Emily hugged them tight, so tight, as if she was afraid they would disappear again. "Miss Emily," said the police officer solemnly, "the program needs to ask a favor." Emily raised her head, still holding the puppies. "They want you to help train them. The puppies trust you. The program trusts you. You're special to them." Emily's eyes widened. But I'm a child." The police officer crouched beside her. "You're a child who wasn't afraid to act, who saw who needed help and didn't pass by. That's the heart of a hero. And therapy dogs need heroes." The puppies laid their heads in her lap, looking with devoted eyes. Emily straightened her back, feeling something change inside her. She was no longer just a little girl. She was someone important, someone who could change lives. "I accept," she said firmly. And from that day on, a new story began. Emily began attending the training center every Saturday. At first, they only taught her how to hold the toys, how to praise properly, and how to have patience when they were distracted or tired. But the trainers soon realized something different. The puppies, now officially named Thunder and Hope, obeyed Emily better than anyone else. When she called, they ran without hesitation. When she said sit, they froze immediately. When she was sad, they came and laid their heads in her lap. "This is rare," said the head trainer to her parents once. "The bond between a person and a dog is something delicate. You can't create it artificially. Either it exists or it doesn't. Your daughter and these puppies have it." Her mother smiled proudly. Her father put his arm around Emily's shoulders. "We always knew she was special." The months passed. Thunder and Hope grew, becoming smarter, calmer, more confident. And Emily grew with them, not just in size, but inside too, becoming stronger, wiser, kinder. She learned that kindness isn't weakness, it's strength, that patience is more important than speed, that silence sometimes speaks louder than words. And then came the day that changed everything. A boy was brought to the center. He was 9 years old. His name was Michael. He didn't say anything. Since the day his parents died in a car accident 6 months earlier, psychologists had tried everything: games, drawings, music, conversations. But nothing worked. Michael simply sat there, empty, silent, frozen somewhere deep inside him where no one could reach. His grandmother cried every night. "He was such a happy child. Now I don't know where he is. He's here, but he's not." The specialists decided to try one last resort, dog therapy. And they chose Thunder, Hope, and Emily. That morning, Emily entered a special room, well lit, with soft carpets and toys. Thunder and Hope were lying side by side, calm and ready. The door opened. Michael entered, thin, pale, with empty eyes. He looked at the dogs, at Emily, and said nothing. He simply stood against the wall. Emily didn't rush him, didn't call him. She just picked up the ball and threw it to Thunder. The dog caught it and brought it back. Hope wagged her tail, waiting for her turn. Michael stood motionless. 5 minutes passed, then 10, then 15. Emily kept playing, sometimes laughing, sometimes talking to the dogs. Hope is a good girl. Very good, Thunder. And suddenly, Hope got up. She walked slowly toward Michael. She stopped in front of him. She simply looked, didn't ask, didn't demand, just was there. Michael looked at her for a long time, and then his hand trembled. He extended it slowly, touched Hope's head, petted once, twice. Thunder also approached and lay at his feet, and then Michael fell to his knees. He hugged Hope tightly, desperately, as if he were clinging to the last hope in the world. Emily approached silently, sat beside him, didn't say a word. simply was there, breathing beside him, sharing the space. Thunder laid his head in Michael's lap, and suddenly the boy cried, for the first time in 6 months, loud, painful, deep, as if everything that was trapped inside him was about to explode. "I miss them," he whispered with a choked voice. "I miss Mom and Dad so much." Emily put her hand on his shoulder. "I know," she said softly. "I'm so sorry. They wouldn't want me to be alone," he sobbed. "You're not alone," Emily replied. "We're here. Thunder and Hope are here, and they're not going anywhere." Michael nodded, crying, hugging the dogs, who didn't move. They just gave warmth, security, and understanding. Emily sat beside him, and in that moment she realized something important. Being a hero doesn't mean saving someone in a spectacular and flashy way. It means sitting in silence with someone who is suffering, not running away. It means simply being present and saying without words, "You're not alone. I'm here." When the session ended, the psychologist went out to the hallway and cried with joy. He spoke for the first time in 6 months. Michael's grandmother pressed her hands against her chest. "What happened?" "He felt loved," the psychologist replied. A few weeks later, the psychologist talked with Emily's parents. "Your daughter has a gift. She's not just good with dogs. She's good with people who are suffering. She knows when to stay silent, when to speak, when to simply be." "That's incredibly rare." Her father looked at Emily with pride. "She's always been special. Besides," the psychologist continued, "we'd like her to continue working with Thunder and Hope, not just as a volunteer, but as a permanent partner." Emily couldn't believe it. "Really? Really? The children react to you the same way they react to the dogs. You're part of their healing." From that day on, Emily became an essential part of the program. Every week she met new children, those who had lost someone, those who were afraid, those who didn't believe life could be good again. And at every meeting, Thunder and Hope were present, silent, faithful, loving. And Emily simply was herself, a girl who knew what it meant to save a life, and who was now saving souls. The years passed. Emily grew, transforming from a girl into a teenager. Thunder and Hope also matured. Their fur became thicker. Their eyes became wiser, calmer. They worked with dozens of children. Hundreds of sessions, and Emily was there every time. She skipped friends' birthday parties to participate in sessions. She did homework in the car on the way home. Sometimes her parents worried. "Sweetheart, you're still a child. You should have your own life." But Emily shook her head. "This is my life, Mom. I'm happy." And it was true. Not an easy and carefree happiness, but a deep and genuine happiness. The kind of happiness that comes from knowing you're doing something important. When Emily turned 16, the National Child Assistance Organization gave her a special award for years of service, for the hundreds of children she helped, for the thousands of hours she dedicated to those who suffered. That day, she was on a big stage in front of hundreds of people. Thunder and Hope were at her feet. Their snouts were grey, but their eyes still shone with love. "I was 8 years old," Emily began at the microphone, "when I heard 2 puppies trembling in the cold in the storm. I didn't think, I just acted. I thought I'd just warm them for one night." She looked at the dogs. "But they warmed me. They showed me what it means to love unconditionally, to be needed, to have a purpose." Her voice trembled. "I met children who had lost everything, children who had been betrayed, children who thought they weren't worthy of love. And every time I sat beside them, I felt the same as that night, that I could change the world, even if just a little bit, but for real." Tears ran down her face. "So, if you hear a cry for help, no matter how quiet it is, don't pass by. Sometimes all it takes to save a life is to open a door, offer a hand, and stick around." The room exploded in applause, but Emily didn't hear it. She fell to her knees and hugged Thunder and Hope, crying into their soft fur. They saved each other that night and kept doing it every day. Michael, the boy who didn't speak, sent a letter. "Dear Emily, Thunder and Hope, I want you to know I'm alive again. I talk, I laugh, I even made a friend. I still miss Mom and Dad, but now I can remember them and smile instead of just crying. You taught me it's okay to be sad and that love never dies. Thank you. With love, Michael." Emily read the letter to Thunder and Hope, sitting on her bedroom floor. "We did it," she whispered. "We helped." They licked her face and laid their heads in her lap. And Emily understood that that cold night hadn't been an accident. It was the moment that changed everything, for her, for them, for all the children they met. Heroism isn't about the absence of fear. It's about acting even when it's scary. It's about seeing pain and not looking away. 20 years later, Emily, an adult woman, is director of the National Center for Animal-Assisted Therapy. She has her own family, a husband who supports her dreams, and an 8-year-old daughter with the same blonde braids she used to wear. One night, her daughter asked, "Mum, why do you help sad children?" Emily looked at an old photograph on the wall. A little girl in a red jacket with 2 little dogs in her arms. Thunder and Hope are gone, but their legacy remains, in hundreds of dogs trained with love, in thousands of children who believed in kindness again. "Because," Emily said softly, "once 2 little creatures taught me that love is stronger than fear, that kindness is more important than convenience, that every life is worth fighting for." Her daughter hugged her. "I want to be like you." Emily kissed her forehead. "Then remember one thing. When you hear a cry for help, don't pass by. Open the door. Extend your hand. Be a light in the darkness." That night, as her daughter fell asleep, Emily stood by the window. Snow fell silently, softly. Somewhere far away, in hospitals, orphanages and help centers, hundreds of children slept more peacefully thanks to dogs trained with love. Thanks to a program that started with a girl who didn't pass by. Heroism isn't greatness. It's a choice. A simple, silent and courageous choice to act when it's easier to do nothing. And that choice changes more than one life. It changes thousands. Emily smiled through tears, pressing her hand against the cold glass. "Thank you, Thunder. Thank you, Hope. For everything." The snow kept falling silently, softly, like a promise that kindness never dies. It simply spreads from heart to heart, from storm to hope. Look, this story teaches us something very deep about life. Sometimes we think we need to do grand things to change the world, but the truth is that the greatest miracles begin with small gestures of love. Emily was only 8 years old. She didn't have superpowers, didn't have money, didn't have anything except a pure heart, and the courage to act when everyone else would just be watching. And it was exactly that which transformed not only her life, but the lives of thousands of children. God places opportunities in our path every day. Sometimes it's a very quiet cry for help. Sometimes it's someone who just needs a word of comfort, a smile, an extended hand. The question is, will you pass by or will you stop? Kindness is like a seed. When you plant it with love, it grows, blooms, and spreads seeds everywhere. One person helps another, who helps another, who helps another, and suddenly the whole world is a little better because of a simple gesture you had the courage to make. Always remember, you're not here by accident. Your life has purpose, your actions have power, and the love you spread in the world never, never gets lost. It multiplies, it transforms, it comes back to you in ways you can't even imagine. So I ask you, what will be your moment? What will be that time when you'll hear the call and will act, even with fear, even without knowing the result? Because it's in those moments that we discover who we really are. It's in those moments that we become God's instrument here on earth. If you made it to the end and liked this video, leave the phrase, "Life is beautiful," down here in the comments. I want to see this wave of gratitude and hope spreading, and don't forget, give that like on the video, share with those you love, and follow our page for more stories that will touch your heart and make you believe that the world is still full of kindness. May God bless you and your entire family. May He illuminate your paths, protect your steps, and fill your heart with peace, love, and purpose. Until the next story.